Hello, I'm Ralph Gable of the Electronics for the Inquisitive Experimenter YouTube channel. Today I would like to introduce a video series on Smith charts. A Smith chart is a graphical measuring tool which is used by electrical engineers and other people interested in radio frequency engineering to solve problems related to RF transmission lines and matching devices. It can be used to create stub matches for antennas or mismatched loads, and antenna phasing harnesses, among a lot of other things that you can do with them. This very useful chart was the brainchild of a guy named Philip Smith in 1936 while working at Bell Labs as an electrical engineer specializing in transmission line theory. It was updated in 1937 to overcome some of the limitations that the original chart had, and so it remains pretty much the same chart today as it was then. But as with many great ideas, it didn't really achieve full acceptance by the electronics world until a few years later. If you were to do a search on YouTube, you would find that there are lots and lots and lots of videos out there on Smith charts, and I've watched an awful lot of them. But why should I want to make yet one more video series on Smith charts? Well, what I discovered when I watched the other videos was none of the ones I watched step folks through from neophyte to functional user. Every single one either assumed a certain level of knowledge that the average non-professional experimenter might not necessarily have, and so you're left with what's this? What is he talking about? Or they left out steps, so you really don't know how they got from here to here in the process. You're going, okay, so what's this? Or they were nothing more than just a cookbook approach. And it really didn't lead the viewer to a greater understanding of what they were doing or how they actually apply this skill to new applications. In any event, the inquisitive viewer is often left with at least one or more questions, not really feeling any more ahead of the game than when they started. So what I did is I broke this topic up into much smaller bites so folks can have more of an a la carte approach. Maybe you understand certain things, but you don't understand other things. And I wanted to lay foundations because, just jumping right into the Smith chart doesn't necessarily work if you don't understand what the Smith chart is about. So, with that in mind, what I did is in the first few videos of this series, I'm going to lay down some foundations. Things like the basics of impedance and admittance and resistance and conductance, and how to get rid of a reactive part of an impedance, and talking about transmission lines, because the Smith chart is all about transmission lines. That's what its purpose is, and impedance matching. So in one of the videos I'll be talking about transmission lines and velocity factor and electrical length. And then how does impedance change as we move down a transmission line? And it's really wild because while the SWR remains the same as you move along a transmission line, the impedance actually changes in a very predictable way, which is something that the Smith chart helps us determine. And then talking about a quick review of reflection coefficient, return loss, and VSWR. These are all various videos that we're going to have. And then we'll have a tour of the Smith chart itself. Rather than just diving right in and starting to do something, we're going to go piece by piece and look at all of the many, many lines that are there and say, this is what this is, and this is what this is, and so on and so forth, so that you know what you're looking at once we get into the application videos. Then, as by way of example, we will create a stub match, an open stub match, and a shorted stub match. And then we'll use a Smith chart to create a stub match, an open stub match for a real life mismatched load that I've created specifically for this series. So, with that in mind, that's kind of the plan of things. So let's dive into this series and see where it leads us. And don't forget, if you find this series helpful, don't forget to subscribe, click on the like, and we'll see how things go. Thanks for watching. In the meanwhile, toodaloots.